All right, we're gonna come and check out the EMCOMM vehicles. People have emergency comms set up for their area where they are from. This is kind of nice. Took one of these little trailers and turned it into their EMCOMM vehicle. Look at that. That is one heck of an array setup. Amateur radio, the ham van. Look at this. Oh man. That is crazy. It looks like an old TV van with the extendable mast on it. That's kind of cool. Let's go take a look around the back on that. Look at that. That is all the way up. That is pretty spiffy. Let's go back around this side here. We'll take a look at some of the other ones. This one is from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Emergency Disaster Services has some antennas up on theirs. That is pretty cool. Look at that. That's pretty spiffy. Let's see what their sign says here. Grow C, Radio Test Lab, QRP, AM FM broadcast. That's pretty cool. Oh wow. I lost. You can lose count of the number of antennas on this one. This is crazy. And they've got themselves a nice push up there. Or not push up, what are they using on it? It looks like a hydraulic. So many small antennas on there. They probably got for many radios, many dual banders, hitting different frequencies all at one time. I wouldn't even be surprised there's GMRS on there. That's pretty cool. This one here, I'm digging that. Look at that. Nice small array on the back of this here Hyundai.
Oh sure. Yeah.
Oh, this is a VHF contest rover. Okay. That's how he's got a nice setup. I like that.
You want a little description?
Actually, that would probably be a good thing.
Oh,
I like that.
Well, I do a fair amount of VHF rover contesting.
Okay.
And I have another rover rig, which is one of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like that one there. But I decided I wanted to try to make something smaller, something just small and simple and fast and easy. And I've been just amazed at how well it actually works. This is just a 4-element 2-meter beam that I made out of an old TV antenna mast. And off of that same old TV antenna mast, I pulled the elements off, and I used the elements here with some little wooden dowels in them to strengthen them up for the for the beam for 432, and this is the 2 meter for 2 meter sideband. These little two things here, each of those are just a 3-foot CB antenna that I bought cheap, that I just pulled the end cap off and then just pull wire out until I get them tuned so that they're resident on 6 meters.
Okay.
So I've got a 6 meter dipole, and I purposely wanted to keep them short rather than the bigger 4-foot ones. I wanted to go with just the 3-foot ones. And this one here is the same thing. This is another just short little CB antenna that I also tuned down to 6 meters, or tuned up to 6 meters. And so with that onto here, it uses the mast then there as a vertical dipole.
Okay.
And so when I'm traveling down the highway, I can pull these off so that it's not, flopping around like that in the wind so much. And the vertical works just fine. And when, especially on 6 meters, when 6 meters is open, it's open.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it just, I mean, you can talk to people all over with a clothespin holding a holding a Kleenex.
Yeah.
And it just so the vertical works just fine when the band is open, and for short distance ground wave communication on 6 meters, like from about up to about 80, 90 to 100 miles, that one there works just fine. But anything more than that, you pretty much have to have then the dipole for just ground wave stuff.
Yeah.
But and this here is just an NMO mount dual band for 2 meter and 70 centimeter FM. And this one here, this is an old 5/8 wave 2 meter NMO mount that I just kind of fiddled with it, and I got that tuned to 220. So,
nice.
In VHF roving, one of the categories is a limited rover, which is the 4 lowest bands: 6 meters, 2 meters, 220, and for 40. So I've got the 4 bands covered for limited rover, which is what I usually compete as, and it works great. It was cheap, easy to make, simple.
So is that a local to where you're from kind of thing, or for like your area, or is that like a nationwide kind of a competition?
It's a nationwide, international, actually, competition, but the characteristics of VHF and UHF, there's a lot of kind of line of sight type stuff. So unless you have really interesting ducting or other things happening with the propagation, usually with the 2 meter sideband, you can usually only get a few hundred miles.
Mm-hmm.
With this, even just this little 4 meter one, with what I have for a radio in there, I can usually do 250, 300 miles, okay, and at least within the region where I'm at, there's only so many VHF contesters. I mean, it's not like a lot of the HF contesting where there's so many more people.
Yeah.
So by the time you worked, this half a dozen guys up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and this guy in Eau Claire, and this guy down in the Quad Cities, and this guy up in Duluth, and that guy out in Bismarck, so there just isn't that many people. So as you move from grid square to grid square, then you can work them all over again.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a fixed station, once you work Billy Bob over in grid square E and 44, unless you switch bands, you really can't work him for points anymore.
Yeah.
But a rover, you can work them every time they go into a different grid. And
okay.
like right now, I'm from the southeast Minnesota area, which is EM33, where I'm at. But just east of Rochester, there's where 4 grid squares connect, and so you can just kind of rotate around those 4 and work all 4 and get a lot of different contacts and a lot of different multipliers and stuff that way. But just like right here, where we're at, I think this is EM79, I think here.
Okay.
But just north, let's see, just northeast, just a little bit, there's a 4 grid square corners. There's where 4 grid squares all come together. So you could work those 4 really easy. But one of the things I do is I go from like town to town, city to city, wherever there's active 2-meter repeaters or 440 repeaters or 220 repeaters, whatever you want. And as you're coming into the area, you just shout out your position on the repeater and you catch some people and you get FM simplex contacts.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You can't use repeaters for the contact.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can use the repeaters to get a hold of people and say, hey, I'm going to be by Red Owl Store up on top of the hill on 146.55. And so, okay. And so it works good for being able to travel the area, pick up more grid squares that you activate in, and pick up a lot more contacts just by using FM simplex.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of fun. And it's cheap and easy. Now, the kind of setups that they have
Yeah.
are just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you can go and you can park and you can work Indonesia or
Yeah,
something,
pretty
you know,
much.
but you know, again, there's a lot of work, a lot of effort. My other big rig takes like almost a full day to get it set up and ready. So I just kind of designed this one. One of my design parameters was with the 2 verticals on, or with those 2 verticals off, so I could drive it into the garage. Especially for the January VHF contest in Minnesota.
Oh, man.
Sometimes the
Yeah.
weather gets a little scruffy.
I bet.
So it's a whole lot easier to be able to just put stuff together inside the garage and then head out compared to doing it all outside. So
Yeah,
I've been
definitely.
just really happy with it, and so I'm on kind of a campaign to recruit more rovers.
So you've got 450,
Yep.
2 meters,
432, 2 meters, 6 meters, 6 meter, 6 meter vertical, and 2 meter 440, and 220 on that.
Oh, you got 220.
Yeah, and I can also do 220 on either of these. The SWR is a little high. It gets up, well, about 2.5, pretty close to 3, but still good enough. And I do have a separate 10-element 220 beam that I use on my other rover rig, but it was just too big. You know, my whole goal here was to have it all small. I wanted it small. And
So how happy are you with the results?
I'm remarkably happy. It performs way better than I ever expected it would. You know, it just I'm you know, even with just this 4-element for 2 meter, you know, if the band conditions are decent on 2 meter, I can go 250, 300 miles easy. You know, that's
Well, you can even go further, 6 meters.
oh, when 6 meters is open, you can talk all over with a clothespin and a toothpick. You know, it just so you know, when the band is open, even just a little vertical works just fine.
So
on
how
that.
long does it take you to set this up?
Takes me about 5 minutes to install the mast, and I designed it to be just a little 1 1/4 inch receiver hitch size.
Yep.
Okay, and it takes me probably about 5 minutes to mount that, 2 minutes to put those on and that, and so.
Oh, so
yeah,
you
I'm
keep
sorry.
the mount there.
Yeah, yep.
Just take the elements off.
Yep, the mounts stay. I was originally going to do some clamping for these, but I decided it was a whole lot easier just to weld on some little L brackets there and then just bolt them on. So it's fast and easy.
Yeah.
And but you know, I have been just really happy with how well it works compared to the big rover rig that I have on
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
Ford Expedition that gets about 10 miles a gallon.
Yeah.
This gets 40.
Oh, man.
So, you know.
You can hit them all.
Nope. You just set the cruise at about 65 on interstate and quit quit working the foot pedal, and she'll get 40 miles a gallon just cruising right on down the road.
You motor with this?
Oh yeah, super easy with this one. With my big one on my expedition.
You have it set up and you drive.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
On the
super
highway.
easy. There's very little wind load here.
Oh,
My big one, that's almost as big as that. I have it on a mast to where it hinges right
pretty
here,
cool.
and it folds down.
I think this
and
might
then
be
the
something
inner
I might be
mast comes
interested in.
out, And then I pin that, and then on top of the inner mast is the rotor with another.
All right,
4
guys.
feet
I'll be
for
back
all
with
of
some
the
more stuff
antennas.
here soon.
So then that all goes back up. So I've